Nedra Kinerk. I'm president of Futuro RGV, and I want to welcome you to the Futuro RGV and the RGV Matters, our young leaders of the future, our candidate forum for the runoff Republican office for U.S. Senate. And I want to thank our 2020 sponsors, Rhodes Enterprises, Sam Garcia Architect, Cross Bank, IBC Bank, Clark Chevrolet, Val Pearson, Ernie Williams, and Rio Bank. And now Syndey, our moderator, Syndey Ramon, you're on.
Yes, like Nedra said, welcome to the Futuro RGV and the RGV Matters Candidate Forum. We're very excited to have you all. But most importantly, we are very pleased to have Ryan Krause and Monica de la Cruz Hernandez with us today, who are the Republican candidates for U.S. Representative District 15. Ryan Krause is a business leader with over 20 years of experience. Over the past several years, Ryan has focused his attention on executive coaching and leadership development, hosting Live to Lead over the past 6 years with his wife, Bridget, to bring leadership training to our community in the Rio Grande Valley. Now, Monica de la Cruz Hernandez is a graduate of the University of Texas at San Antonio, where she worked and took out student loans to put herself through college. Upon graduation, she opened her own insurance agency and found immediate success, becoming the first female agent in the Rio Grande Valley to earn the prestigious President's Club Award, an honor bestowed upon the top 50 agents in the country. Monica's tenacity is shaped by a history of resilient, independent women and men who proudly serve their country. So thank you all for being here with us today. Our media panel has Davis Rankin, 710 KURV, the Valley's news talk station, and we are very excited to have him. We will start with a 1-minute opening statement by the candidates. I will go ahead and pass this over to Ryan Krause so he can give his opening statement.
Well, thank you, Syndey, and thank you to Futuro RGV and RGV Matters. It's so exciting to be a part of this and be with you here today. As you mentioned, I'm Ryan Krause. I'm running for Congress for Congressional District 15. I grew up on the north end of this district where my dad was actually a Navy veteran of 26 years. My mom was a civil service worker all her life. My brother is an entrepreneur in New Braunfels, and my other brother is actually the county judge. So I guess you could say I have entrepreneurialism and public service running through my blood. I lived in the Rio Grande Valley from 2007 to 2018, where I was the executive pastor of a church there. And my daughter went to Sherryland High School. My son went to Beta Academy, and both of them attended STC College. So you could say that I have roots in both areas. And so I'm excited. We'll get to know each other a little bit better here today, but excited to be your servant and serve you in Congress.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to pass this over to Monica. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi there, good morning. My name again is Monica de la Cruz Hernandez, and I am a Valley girl, born and bred right here in the Rio Grande Valley. As you mentioned, my husband and I own 3 small businesses right here in the Rio Grande Valley. I am proud to represent this area as your Republican candidate. We, in November, were also the vote getters, and we won the popular vote in the March primary. So we're excited about the runoff that's happening in July, and even more excited about a great win in November. And again, my name is Monica de la Cruz Hernandez.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over. Oh, sorry, I think we're having a little feedback. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to our media panel with Davis. Davis, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, candidates, for being with us. Let's start out with what's in the headlines. Black Lives Matter. What does that mean to you? What do you think should be done about it, and what would Congress's role be?
Monica, we can go ahead and start with you for that question.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing up this important topic. I think 1 minute is clearly not enough time to delve into this important subject. What I want to say is that it is an American right to be able to peacefully protest for the beliefs that people have. And I support that right as an America. That's what makes this a great, great country. What we don't support are the rioters and looters who are making innocent victims, innocent business owners have losses. And that we can absolutely not stand for. So I support peaceful protesting for the beliefs that you have that is an American right and an American way.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask a follow-up and then we'll go to Mr. Krause? But what does Black Lives Matter mean? There was a response of Blue Lives Matter for the police, that all lives matter. What does it mean to you?
So the Black Lives Matter movement is a sensitive subject, and depending on who you talk to is what you'll get. What I see that saying, and again, you see, I am not an African American. I am not a Black person living in a community where this is a great subject. We are very privileged in the Rio Grande Valley to live among lots of Hispanics. So what I see their movement saying is that they want reform within the police department to have their voices heard.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Krause, you're up.
Yes, thank you, Davis, and great question. And so Black Lives Matter, absolutely. Black Lives Matter, just like all lives matter. Blue lives, white lives, brown lives, all lives matter. And so, but the problem here is that Black Lives Matter started by a couple of actually lesbian Black women, that their whole movement was to promote that movement. In fact, on their website years ago, they said that if you're white, you need not apply. And so the problem is that they were marginalizing everybody else in that movement. I believe that all of us matter, and I believe that skin color shouldn't matter. And so, so what Black Lives Matter has moved to now is just an arm of the Democrat Party. If someone were to go on the website and donate, you would find that it takes you to a True Blue website. And what True Blue does is it backs and supports Democrat nominees. So it's just an arm of the Democrat Party at this point. I do believe that Black Lives Matter just as all lives matter.
In Texas in 1865, after the war was over, a Union officer came ashore at Galveston Island and told the slaves, the African-American slaves, they were free. Well, they'd been freed with the Emancipation Proclamation, but word didn't seem to get to Texas, or the slave owners never passed it along. So they were free on June the 19th, 1865. It's been a holiday or a point of a celebration in Texas for a long time. There's now talk of making it maybe a national holiday. National businesses a few of them have started making it a holiday for their employees. What do y'all think about making it a national holiday?
Davis, who would you like to start out that question?
Monica, we'll just go. Well, at some point, yeah, we need to go back the other way. Let's go with Ryan, and we'll edit out this little chatter here. Let's go with Ryan first, and we'll try. If you can remind me to go back and forth.
Yeah, the history lesson. Thank you for that. And we know that I think the emancipation, as good as it was a little bit premature because there was still fighting going on, and so. I think they failed to get on Facebook and notify the Texans that the fighting was over. So yes, absolutely. Should it be a national holiday? There's pros and cons to that. I would not be opposed to it. But my feeling is that anytime we marginalize somebody based on race, then we're creating problems. To me, division creates division. And so to recognize that point in history is one thing, but to recognize and lift up a specific race based on their race, whatever they are, is only going to cause more problems in my mind. And so again, I think that division causes division, and to remember the point of the abolition of slavery is a great thing. I would be for that.
Monica?
I understand your question to be is, should Juneteenth be a national holiday? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that Congress, I believe that Congress would have to declare it or make it a national holiday for it to be that way.
Here's what I would say is I am open to this type of discussion. one of the things that is happening right now in our country is that the Democrats are erasing our history. They're taking down Confederate statues. They're taking down, I mean, Cookie Monster doesn't even have cookies anymore. Elmer Fudd doesn't even have a gun anymore. So I think that anything that we can do to preserve our history and help people understand our history can have positivity in our nation. We must understand our history, not to make the same mistakes. So I'm certainly open to that discussion. I feel that if it is a movement that we are able to remember our history and the mistakes of our history, that we can certainly have a discussion for this.
Thank you.
Let's play pretend. You pretend you have been elected and you're sworn in Congress. It's January of 2021. I have to stop and think. What would be, you say, some of the first few moves you would make after you find out where the bathrooms are and get your stationery ordered? What would you want to do at the very beginning of your term? I guess we'll start with Monica.
Yes, so that would be obviously a very exciting time, and I believe that I want to best represent what my district has told me is important to them. So the first thing is the National Border Patrol Council has endorsed me as their candidate in this district to win. So the first thing that is important to my district is illegal immigration and reform of our immigration laws. What we need to do is get support for our National Border Patrol and the LEOs that are out there every day fighting for our communities. So the first thing that I would do is work with our experts who are on the front lines of immigration and get them the support that they need. And that is my commitment to my constituents and to our country.
Ryan Krause.
Yeah, thank you, Davis. Yeah, so the first thing that I would do is make sure that we keep the promises that have been kept, that have been made to retirees and veterans alike, where we need to provide them the health care that we've promised them and not make them put them into some socialist cattle herding program, and give them the health care that they've been promised and they need. Secondly, in light of the circumstances that we're seeing, absolutely supporting our law enforcement at all levels, including the Border Patrol. I've been contacted by lots of Border Patrol agents that want to support me and be behind me because they know who I am and what I stand for. And so I would want to give the Border Patrol, I'd stop politicizing the Border Patrol. I'd give them a policy that they can follow that doesn't change every other day. And I'd give them the funds that they need and the materials and the training that they need, so that they're not getting 30-year-old hand-me-downs from our military, but they're getting the equipment they need to be safe and to serve us and to keep us safe.
Let me do a follow-up, which will serve as the next question, first to Ryan Krause, then back to Monica. The President of the United States, as I suppose everybody knows, got elected saying he was going to erect a wall really from sea to sea, from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific. It's not unfolded as he anticipated, although it is being built. Some people said at the beginning, who will assume they wanted to stop illegal immigration, said that's not the right way to do it. A wall is not the answer. They should use more bodies, more people on the ground, and more technology. What's your view of all this?
Well, it's a great question and a great discussion. I happen to have a very good friend who is a technology provider to the U.S. government for Border Patrol services. And years ago, he told me that a border wall was not needed. And he's telling me today that we absolutely must have a border wall. Our Border Patrol agents who are out there risking their lives every single day are saying holistically that we need a wall. And I'm nobody to contradict the experts. And so I do believe that we need a wall. I do believe that it's going to help us secure our border and know who's coming across our border and help our Border Patrol agents do their job and keep us safe.
Monica?
Thank you. Yes, one of the things that we really enjoy about President Trump is that he supports our Border Patrol agents and he supports our law enforcement officers. What I want to do, and the reason that I am the only candidate that is endorsed by the National Border Patrol Council, is because I've listened to what they need. They are the experts. The misconception is that it is a solid wall from one side to the other, but they do want a combination of all of those things. More people on the front lines. They want security cameras. They want a physical wall. And we have an obligation, not just to our Border Patrol agents and their families to keep them safe, but remember, we have an obligation to Americans and keeping Americans safe and putting Americans first policies forward. And so I support what the experts want with Border Patrol.
Let's shift to the district's needs. Monica, you first. What do you believe are, I'll just pick a figure, top 5 priorities for District 15? The district runs from the Rio Grande Valley, from Hidalgo County, all the way up to just outside of New Braunfels. It takes in Guadalupe County, and it turns out that the largest city in Guadalupe County is Schertz. On the expressway. Okay, so what, and very disparate populations, what do you think are your first priorities for the district?
Well, I am the only candidate that actually lives in the district. I am born and raised right here in the Rio Grande Valley, so I understand the border area very well. The district is geographically and culturally diverse. What the South is a little different than the middle part, which is a little different than the North. I have narrowed it down to 3 areas of concern. The first is securing our border and border immigration. That is the thread that keeps everything together. The second is infrastructure. Schertz, as you mentioned, Seguin, New Braunfels are growing at a highly fast pace. So infrastructure is a big issue, especially with their dam walls becoming unsecure and putting housing values at risk. The third is healthcare. Those are the top 3 issues that are concerned to our district.
Ryan Krause, what do you think the top concerns are of the district as you see them?
Well, there's some accuracy there in that that healthcare, border security, infrastructure, those are top things, but it's more specific than that. And I think the real interesting thing here is that we have such a long 330 miles of a district here that goes from the Rio Grande Valley all the way up to Guadalupe County. And Guadalupe County would certainly road and bridge is a big deal, but water, whether it's potable water or wastewater or the lakes, is a big issue in Guadalupe County. I should also mention that I have the support of all the county commissioners of Guadalupe County. I have the county judges throughout this district are all supporting me, and although they can't do it publicly, but they know that I understand their needs. In the middle of this district, we have transportation where we have the elderly that are out in the middle of nowhere and can't make it to their doctor's appointments, because I've sat down with these county judges and county commissioners and understand the unique needs in each area. And that, again, the Rio Grande Valley is certainly border security and immigration.
What's your, well, let me continue with District 15, then I'll remind me to jump to the border facilities. The population in Hidalgo County is probably going to be, well, I used to say 85% Mexican American and 15% other. About 1% of Hidalgo County and Cameron County, about 1% of the population is African American in derivation. I don't know about the others. It's overwhelmingly Hispanic, as you know. A lot of people, I would say, are recent immigrants. Guadalupe County can't be that way. It is, there is a substantial Hispanic presence, but there's so a diminished Anglo presence, but there's also African Americans and others. How does the disparateness of the population, how does that enter your thinking about what you would do in Congress, or does it?
I'm sorry, was that to me?
I guess, yeah. Were you the last one?
Okay, sure.
All right. Mario, edit this out.
Yeah,
Make me look good. All right, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, certainly Guadalupe County is more diverse. There's a lot of diversity in Guadalupe County. And as you mentioned, Hidalgo County is very high rate of Hispanic. And in the middle, you have a lot of Anglo farmers, honestly, and Hispanic farmers as well. But to me, I don't want to set policies based on race. I don't want to set policies based on skin color. I want to set policies for Americans that will serve all Americans equally. And I think that's where we need to be. A lot of the conversation that we hear today, as I mentioned earlier, is creating division. And I want to do everything I can to eliminate division and treat Americans as Americans and treat them fairly across the board and make sure that everybody can live the American dream and have the opportunity of being American. So that would be my perspective and where I would come from in dealing with any policies is a non-racial perspective.
Monica?
Thank you. So as you mentioned, District 15 is geographically diverse as well as culturally diverse. I was so committed to my district and to understand the needs of the entire district that I actually made our second home in Guadalupe County so I could get a better understanding of what the needs of the North was. Let me tell you this, that I found that those three issues, again, were border security, that they are infrastructure and healthcare. And Davis, let me be very frank here. Besides, we are all Americans first. It doesn't matter the color, it doesn't matter the creed, we are Americans. And my job is to be a reflection of their collective voice together. And as I said, those three things are border migration, our infrastructure, and healthcare.
All right, you said infrastructure. Let me jump to that real quick. There was talk at the beginning of the president's term to do a big, I think they called it an infrastructure bill. It's a highway bill, build highways. That's something that both parties, whatever they think is supposed to be, they're all for that. $1 billion. Never happened. There's been renewed talk recently before Black Lives Matter and the murder of Mr. Floyd. Would you be for or against some big, say, $1 trillion infrastructure bill to rebuild bridges, highways, et cetera?
That question is for Monica.
Yes.
I am for putting Americans back to work and as quickly as possible. Right now, we have millions of Americans that are looking for jobs and wanting to make America great. And part of that is infrastructure. Part of that is putting Americans back to work. So I'm certainly open to a conversation about putting Americans back to work and helping our district with the infrastructure issues that they have, which include what you're talking about: highways, securing dams, building bridges, fixing roads. All of that helps America, helps Americans as well.
Ryan Krause.
Yeah, so I actually have some associates that are working on those bills, Davis, and working with the Army Corps of Engineers and coming up with and designing the different proposals to address that. And so I don't think that we would sign off on $1 trillion just yet, but absolutely the interstate system does need to be improved, does need to be worked on, and the federal government has provided for that. But my bigger stance would be to lower taxes as much as possible so that states can take care of their own infrastructure needs, so that all of our money is not going to Washington where it comes back to us with strings attached. But we as a state have the freedom to use that money where we personally and locally see fit. And so my immediate concern would be keeping those monies local as much as possible.
Let's switch to foreign policy for a second, because although the senators, I think, would say they're right up there, they're more important in the direction of American foreign policy than the House of Representatives. Perhaps Mario will edit that part out. The president, while all this other stuff was going on, the president gave an order that a percentage of the troops that we have stationed in Germany, when it was West Germany, as a defense against the Russians or the Soviets rolling in their tanks, that some of those people be brought home, brought back from Germany. What do you think about that move? Would you oppose it? Would you want to see the troop levels raised? And then about staffing things up in that part of the world generally?
Yeah, I think that's to me, right?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, I'm all for bringing troops home and getting troops out of harm's way, unless it's the only way that I believe that we should put troops anywhere else is that if there's a very clear plan of what they are to execute and a very clear exit plan of when they're coming home and how they're coming home and what qualifies success on the mission field. And so, so to answer your question directly, yes, I'm all for bringing those troops home, and that is something that our president stood for. And coincidentally, now we have people questioning that and his moves in that. But I am proud of our president because he has brought troops home and he has stood by his promises. And again, I think that if troops are out there, there needs to be a clear mission for them and what qualifies as success, and we need to bring them home if we don't have that.
Monica?
Thank you. Here's one thing that I believe is that as the United States, we must have a strong military, and we must have a strong military presence in different areas of our world and our country. I trust the president's policies on bringing American troops back home and know that he is about Americans first. Now, with that being said, I believe that we should staff a strong military. We should always have a strong military. We should beef up military because we must have a strong presence, not only here in the United States to control what is happening, here locally, but also around the world. We always want to make sure that our troops come home safely. We love our military and appreciate our veterans who have fought for our country and who have protected us all these years.
Very quickly, the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court recently ruled, let me start again. President Obama instituted what people just call DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, saying that a discrete number of people, young people who were brought here by their parents typically could stay until, I'm not sure till when. The president ran saying he was going to do away with DACA, and he tried to do away with it. The Supreme Court said, well, the president didn't do it right. He didn't follow the right steps, opening up the opportunity to do it the right way sometime soon. What do you think about that? DACA, should they be allowed to stay? What, Monica?
Well, Davis, that is a loaded question for 58 seconds, but I'm going to try my best to answer it here. Number one, what Obama did was an unlawful executive action, and Trump tried to reverse it. He obviously did not put in the information the Supreme Court needed, and this is why we have a Supreme Court. The DACA situation, or the DACA kids, is a sensitive subject, and I understand, especially being from the border. We know that amnesty is wrong. It is unlawful. We know that amnesty and not protecting our American laws can be of detriment and is of detriment to our American border security. That being said, President Trump made a bold move in starting a conversation with the Democrats to give a pathway to citizenship for the DACA children who came of no fault of their own, but with conditions attached to it. And the Democrats did not want to have that discussion. And that's precisely the problem that is happening right now in America, that Democrats Democrats do not want to have a discussion for sensible solutions.
Thank you.
Ryan Krause.
Yeah, so I think, as you mentioned, the Supreme Court said they didn't have the information they needed, which is not accurate. But Chief Justice Roberts has taken this path before. And so that is a concern. And I think the bigger and the deeper concern here, I'm going to get to your question, but the deeper concern here is judges legislating from the bench. And this is another area where I am super proud of our president that to date, we have 199 federal judges that he's appointed and have been approved and are sitting today that have more of a conservative nature, that are law abiding and following the rule of law rather than creating law from the bench. And so that's a big issue. But the specific question is DACA. And I think that absolutely we need to have conversation and how we can remedy this. I would not be opposed to having a conversation to talk about how we can remedy the situation to where we're not putting people in unfair circumstances and asking kids to live looking over their shoulder wondering what's coming next.
Thank you. And this next question is going to be our last one because of our time.
Well, I was going to say, don't we want to wrap it up now? I think we started.
Oh, yeah. All right, Davis. Well, if you're all finished, then we can go ahead and get to closing statements.
You'll take a deep breath. All right. I'm out of this now. It's up to you.
Great. So you're going to have a minute and a half for your closing statements. We'll go ahead and start with Ryan Krause.
Sorry, I thought you were going to Monica there.
Oh, no, you're good.
Yeah, so, yeah, again, I'm Ryan Krause. I'm running to be your representative. I've done a lot of work in this district. I'm not just some fly-by-night. In fact, I've lived in and around this district since 1976, and I know this district well. I've had the pleasure of growing up on the northern end, and I had the great pleasure of living on the southern end, and I even went to college in the middle of this district. So I've been all over this district. I know the people, I know the needs, and I look forward to serving you and being your congressman, not just to be your voice, but to uphold your values. I stand for faith, family, and freedom, and we have an opposing party today that is trying to take away our religious liberty, that's trying to destroy the family, and is trying to limit your freedoms. And so I want to stand up and I want to fight for those values, not only in Washington, but in District 15. I want to stand up against local leaders that are trying to take those rights away from you. I want to stand up for you so that you can live the American dream, that you can make the choices that you want to make for your life and what's best for you and your family. And I want to stop all the nonsense, all the legislation that's prohibiting you from doing that. I've already served this district well. I've served the Republican Party as a delegate in the convention. I've served the food banks by putting food on the shelves. My wife and I have had leadership events in the Valley for 7 years now. And so I've been serving this country. I've served on the Mission Chamber Board. And so I've been serving this district, and I look forward to serving you in Congress.
Thank you. Monica, you're up.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Monica de la Cruz Hernandez, and I'm proud to be a Republican candidate running right now in the runoff. What I stand for is stand for pro-life. I stand for the protection of the Second Amendment, and I stand for border security. As the only candidate that is endorsed by the National Border Patrol Council and have 3 official congressional endorsements, I want to tell you that this is our year. This is the year that you all as constituents of District 15 have the opportunity with me as your candidate to make history. It's going to take $1 million to beat the current incumbent. I have already proven to you that I reflect your values, that I have the opportunity and can get the vote because I was the only candidate who won the popular vote and was the vote getter in March. And most importantly, that I can fundraise. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're the best person in the world. If you can't fundraise and you cannot raise $1 million, we cannot beat Vicente Gonzalez in November. I encourage everyone to follow me on social media. Follow me on my website, because together and as your candidate, we will win and we will make history.
Well, thank you once again. Thank you, Monica and Ryan, for being here with us today. Thank you, Davis, for being our media panel. This candidate forum will be available on social media for viewing before and during early voting and election day. Go to YouTube and type Runoff Candidate Forum 2020 to view our forum then. Thank you once again, everyone. Early voting starts June 29th and ends July 10th, and election day is July 14th. Your vote is important. Exercise your power and vote. Thank you all. And that's the end of our recording. So thanks, guys, so much for being